November was the month life tried really hard to knock me off track. ER runs, chemo days with my girlfriend, back pain, 5 Thanksgiving lunches, family in town, traveling, money stress, nearly getting lost in the woods, and mental battles like no other. Does he make it? Does he stay on track? Stay tuned to find out. Okay, yes, I made it. For the first time in my life, I didn't give up when life slapped me around. I'm exhausted, but I'm still here, and I'm still moving. Welcome to my freedom journey. The ongoing story of rebuilding my health, reclaiming my life, and training for my first marathon. Every month I share the wins, the setbacks, and the truth of what it takes to keep moving forward. And since we don't do cliffhangers around here, let's just jump straight into November's numbers. My trend weight for November started at 291.5 pounds and ended at 283.4 pounds. That's down another 8.1 pounds, and that's about 1.89 pounds per week. So sticking pretty close to the 2 pounds per week that I'm aiming for. I averaged about 1,578 calories a day, with macros sticking pretty close to 160 grams of protein, 69 grams of fat, and 74 grams of carbs. And my steps climbed from around 3,000 to 4,000 a day at the beginning of the month to over 6.5 thousand a day by the end. But those numbers are just the ending of this month's story. Looking at them, you'd think November was simple, but as I said in the intro, I had quite the fight on my hands. Early in the month, I jogged for a couple of seconds at the end of a walk, and for the first time, I thought, I can actually do this. I wasn't in pain. I actually enjoyed it. I then planned and started my training for the marathon. Then came the Sunday night Shelly needed to go to the ER. The second she told me that she needed to go, the cravings hit. Every fast food place, every comfort food, every urge I usually drown the stress and anxiety in. It was the first time I really understood how much I've been using food to cope. But I didn't give in. I fought my way through it tooth and nail. In my journal that night, I actually wrote, I stayed on track for my future self in spite of the shit show. I've got this and nothing will stop me. I will not let this bring me down. Not this time, voice. I can move. I can do this. But that yell my way through it approach led to a really important revelation. I've been at war with a tiny voice in my head that says, you're just going to quit again. And I kept yelling facts back at it. Look how many days you've logged your food. Look how much weight you've already lost. Look at all your numbers improving. But that voice isn't an enemy. It's a part of me that's scared. A part of me that remembers all the promises I broke in the past. So instead of yelling, I'm working on treating that part of me with compassion. Kind of like a kid who's tired of being disappointed. I'm not fighting that voice anymore. I'm inviting it to go on a walk with me as we relearn who we are together. I also had a really hard night with the scale and mirror, something that I thought I had already conquered. I'd been putting in so much effort, fighting urges, dealing with stress, showing up every day, and I struggle to see the visual progress. Even when I look at my progress photos, there's still a voice in my head that just discounts everything that I'm seeing with my own eyes. What I'm learning, though, is that some of the most important work doesn't show. Fighting binge urges, saying no to old coping habits, choosing walks when I'd rather just crash on the couch, those choices don't show up instantly on the outside. But they are still very real progress. Every time I choose the version of myself I want to become, I make future choices easier. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to cast more votes for the person that I want to be rather than voting against that person. And if all that wasn't enough, I overdid it on Beat Saber and pretty severely overworked my serratus, which set off a chain reaction of compensating muscles. Sitting or standing without support hurt, and it took me a while to accept that this was a learn and adjust moment and not a failure. And then came Thanksgiving. I had 5 different Thanksgiving lunches this month, 3 of them catered events at work with giant plates and endless dessert tables. Watching everyone else pile up food while I put a reasonable amount on an oversized plate honestly messed with me more than I expected. It looked like I wasn't eating anything, even though I was doing exactly what aligned with my goals. By the last luncheon, I finally figured out a trick. Use the dessert plate. It's normal sized, it makes portion control easier, and it doesn't leave you feeling like you're walking around with a sad empty plate. On top of that, having family over, traveling out of town, and juggling broken sleep schedules added even more pressure around food and routine. By the end of the month, it genuinely felt like I was working a second full-time job. Not because the habits were wrong, but because I was making decision after decision instead of just flowing through my usual systems. But even with all of that, I kept getting up early, I got my training done, and I made it through every Thanksgiving meal without going off the rails. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I hit upload on that first YouTube video. It might not sound big, but for me, perfectionism has killed more ideas than failure ever has. But not this time. I posted the video without spending hours and hours planning and just thinking about it. I just did it, and it's only going to get better from here. So that's November. Down 8 pounds, movement trending up, and a lot of invisible emotional work that I'm doing my best to learn to count as real progress. December's goal isn't to go harder or do something dramatic. It's simply to prove that November wasn't a fluke. Same habits, same systems, one more month stepping forward. If you're on your own journey, breaking patterns, choosing discipline over regret, or just learning to believe in the person that you're becoming, you're not alone. I'm right there with you. The time's going to pass anyways, so let's make this next month count.